During the 2008 presidential election, a Fox News poll showed that nearly half of Americans thought an independent candidate would be a better choice than either Democrat or Republican. That sentiment appears to be growing. Is it possible we could see the emergence of a third party in 2010? Our D.C. insider and political commentator Armstrong Williams joins us this morning for our Washington Wrap. Good morning, Armstrong.
Good morning, Patrice.
All right, so why are people talking about a third party out there? Are the two parties we have just broken beyond repair?
Well, you know, the Democratic and Republican Party, when these individuals go to Washington, obviously they have great enthusiasm, great promise, but obviously they're more concerned about their jobs once they get there and start staying for a while and their own self-interest, making money and having power. And they lose the interest of people and what is in the best interest of people. I mean, it's no different than you pass health care, you pass civil rights legislation, and it applies to the people you represent, but it does not apply to you. And so the more and more Americans are looking at this situation, they're beginning to realize that Republicans and Democrats are more alike on certain levels than more people are willing to recognize. And while Ross Perot started something some time ago, obviously it fizzled out. And starting a third party in this country is going to be very difficult. It's not going to impact this year's election or the 2012 election, but I think the seeds are being planted where people are beginning to realize that the Democratic and the Republican Party is just corrupt. It's a monopoly.
Well, give me some specifics of what the third party would look like. What would they stand for?
You know, now that's the best question of the morning. You know,
I try, Armstrong, I try.
It's an emotional issue. People want change. They assume just because you have another institution, another organization, and you call it a third party, that it's going to be different. But you're talking about individuals who are subject to change, individuals who are subject to corruption. They want people who can focus on the economy, who can focus on foreign affairs. They're not really concerned about issues like abortion and same-sex marriages. They feel that is something that can take place in the church and some other institution. They want to talk about the freedoms that they feel that are being turned back, the Patriot Act. They feel that America is losing its way of life. They want somebody to speak to the values and the traditions that have made America who she is today. And they just feel that so much of this is being abandoned. So much is about lobbyists, so much is about special interest groups, that we've compromised so much that we have lost our very own identity. And unless a change come about, and they don't think it can come within the two-party system that we have now, that America will cease to be the superpower that it is today.
All right, if there is a legitimate, substantive third-party option out there, how would that change the political landscape, the debate going on in the country?
You know, this is about money. This is about power. I think that you would have more people participating in the election system, participating in what's going on in this country, because I think there's so many people in this country don't feel that either party really represent their interests or who they are. And so therefore you have this voter apathy. I do think it could be a change, but it's a long way off. But I think it's a good thing. I think we should hold both parties accountable.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Armstrong, thank you so much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Patrice.
Coming up. Last year, a group called Judicial Watch issued a report of the 10 most corrupt politicians of 2009. On the list is President Obama. The conservative group claims the Obama White House believes it can violate the privacy rights of Americans, citizens, without any consequence. Our D.C. insider and political commentator Armstrong Williams joins us this morning for our Washington Wrap. Good morning, Armstrong.
Good morning, Patrice.
All right, let me cite some examples that this group is using as reason for saying that President Obama is corrupt. They're saying that he was questioned in relation to Rod Blagojevich trying to sell the Obama Senate seat. They also question President Obama appointing czars in government. Are those the types of examples of a person that's corrupt?
No. I think where they hit him on the transparency issue, where he's allowed, where he's touting his health care, and where people are believing that they're going to actually get health care if the bill passes. And what he's doing is creating a bureaucracy, because if they really wanted to do something about health care for the people, an appendectomy in Kansas City, Missouri would cost the same as an appendectomy in Baltimore. There are other people on the list, like Chris Dodd, who should be on the list, and his dealing with Countrywide, where he got a favorable interest rate and a sweetheart deal, which he refuses to disclose. Tim Geithner, who refused to pay his taxes and other issues before he became Treasury Secretary. You got Barney Frank, who was out advocating for these bailouts, and yet he was on a board of a bank funneling funds to his sweetheart deal of a bank in Massachusetts. You have Charlie Rangel on the list, who's on the Ways and Means Committee, and you know about his ethical issues and lapses with homes that he never disclosed on his taxes. He also mentions Nancy Pelosi and what Nancy Pelosi is doing in terms of how she uses aircrafts and costs the taxpayers millions of dollars. And there's also John Murtha, who's also on the list.
Well, let me just jump in, Armstrong, before we run out of time, and let's talk about the credibility of the group that has issued this report. Judicial Watch says, you know, they're a conservative foundation, but they're themselves being sued. They're in a lawsuit right now for lying about their credentials, misleading fundraising, misuse of donor money, and all of that sounds like they don't have their house in order. So how much credibility is there behind this report?
You know, for full disclosure, I know, well, I don't think Larry Klayman is any longer associated with. I think it's Tom Fenton. You know,
That's
in
correct.
the past, they've been very fair and balanced and going after both sides, because you notice Senator John Ensing is on that list for sleeping with one of his staff's wives. Well, he's the one Republican. So, you know, they've been pretty balanced and going after both sides. They've gone after Bush. So in terms of the credibility of the list, I won't question their intentions there, but yet they have their own issues. But the bottom line here is, Patrice, if you look at anybody's record on Capitol Hill and in the cabinet, if you want to find corruption, it is there. It's just not a sign to Democrats. It's across the board.
All right. Armstrong, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
I'll come in.
A shift in power after Scott Brown wins the Senate seat in Massachusetts could be more than just a change in party. Some political analysts say all incumbents could be in danger this coming election as voters search for change, period. Our GC insider and political commentator Armstrong Williams joins us this morning for our Washington wrap. Good morning, Armstrong.
Good morning, Megan.
A lot of people wondering if health care played a role in Brown's victory. Other people wondering if this is really not about policy and really a search for change. What do you think?
Megan, when everyday Americans see banks being bailed out, Wall Street being bailed out, the auto industry being bailed out, the insurance industry being given caveats of favors in the bill, the pharmaceutical companies, then they begin to ask the question, well, when am I going to benefit? When will my life improve? When will I find a job? When will I have the security to send my kids to school? And then something, a light clicks, and they said, you know what? These guys are only benefiting themselves. They have this monarchical mentality. It's all about them, and they think about us later. And so what Massachusetts represented, as it always represented in our history from the American Revolution to the Boston Tea Party, we've got to send a message to these bums that we're going to throw these bums out until we get it right. So what they've done, they fired them in New Jersey. They fired them in Virginia. They didn't get the message, and they fired them in Massachusetts. And it's not just about the Democrats. What they're saying to the American people that they'll elect to represent them, until you do our bidding, until you serve our interests and do what is in the best interest of us, create jobs, we will fire you until we get it right.
And that perception seems to be really across the country. We polled our viewers recently. 93% of them said they wanted to replace all of Congress. What do you think that means for incumbents as we head into the election in November?
The bottom, look, this health care in secrecy, the president saying I will go on C-SPAN to make sure you know that the process has integrity. Then you change your mind. Why would you change your mind if you had nothing to hide? What is it? The American people want transparency in government. They want less government in their lives. They want government to work for them. And it's good because we have finally awakened a sleeping giant. The American people are the true bosses of this country. They hire these bums and they can fire these bums. And when I say bums, it's that the fact is they go in and they betray their trust. They serve themselves. They serve their special interest group. They serve their party. They're more loyal to the Democratic Party and the Republican Party in their interest than the interests of the people, and they're sick and tired of it, and they will not take it anymore. It's not just the Tea Party. It's just not independents and Republicans and Democrats. It's the American people. What Massachusetts symbolized this week are the feelings of just about every American in this country. Don't you think I will not pull that lever in Massachusetts for a Republican if that signals something better? Don't you think that I won't pull that lever for a Democrat in Texas if that does not symbolize something better? They're willing to do it, and I think they're finally listening.
Armstrong, thank you so much. We have about 10 months until that election. We'll see what happens.
Thank you.